to weeknights on Channel 5.
This was humankind at its awe-inspiring best today. A U.S. astronaut pushing the envelope of technology and knowledge to the limit. A new limit of tetherless rocket backpack travel and work in space. The future, above the fray. Above the present violent scene below in Beirut, where humankind was again today at its worst. Good evening, this is the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. The U.S. Marine Force in Beirut is being pulled out of the embattled Lebanese capital. President Reagan late this afternoon ordered the 1,600 Marines redeployed on U.S. warships off the Lebanese coast. But a smaller, reduced American military presence will remain on the ground. The Marines are not the only Americans being relocated from Beirut. 39 U.S. diplomats and their families were evacuated earlier today to ships of the 6th Fleet. This turnabout of U.S. policy comes as Muslim rebels appeared on the verge of taking over much of Beirut. Our coverage begins with David Martin.
President Reagan announced a new strategy for Lebanon, which includes a redeployment of the U.S. Marines to ships offshore. Mr. Reagan said he has directed Defense Secretary Weinberger to submit a plan for the phased withdrawal of all 1,600 Marines now dug in at Beirut Airport. At the same time, the president said the U.S. would accelerate its training and equipping of the Lebanese army and would change the rules of engagement to allow U.S. Navy ships and aircraft to fire in support of the British, French, and Italian members of the multinational force and the Lebanese government itself. The aircraft carrier Independence has cut short a port call in Turkey and returned to the coast of Lebanon. And the battleship New Jersey today fired its 5-inch guns in support of the French peacekeeping force. A Pentagon spokesman confirmed that the rules of engagement have been changed, but provided no details.
The on-scene commanders can now respond in a different manner than before, and that's the only way that I can characterize it for you.
The administration blames Syria for the current crisis, threatening to topple the government of Amin Gemayel.
We have some evidence that the Syrians are resupplying various factions, and they are most likely directing some activities.
At a minimum, sources say, naval gunfire could be targeted against Syrian artillery positions shelling East Beirut. At a maximum, U.S. airstrikes could be directed against a Syrian communications complex east of Hamana, which is believed to be the primary control point for the current fighting. At the White House today, Vice President Bush chaired the meetings at which the new strategy was decided upon. Sources say discussions on pulling out the Marines have been going on for 2 weeks, ever since senior administration officials concluded that Syria's President Assad would block any political settlement that might end the fighting in
Privately,
Beirut.
Pentagon officials do not claim this new strategy can bring about a political settlement in Lebanon or force Syria to cease its manipulation of the warring factions. All it really does, these officials say, is cut America's losses in a no-win situation. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
With the U.S.-backed Lebanese army routed, Muslim militiamen were triumphant in their conquest of predominantly Christian West Beirut. They declared what was termed a final ceasefire, but a commander of the Christian militia vowed to fight on. Caught in the middle of all this, as it has been for so many years, is the city of Beirut. We have a report from there by Alan Pizzi.
West Beirut has slipped back 8 years to the days of the Civil War, with armed militiamen in control of the streets. They drove out all but a few isolated pockets of the army in fierce overnight fighting that devastated large areas of West Beirut.
It seems the shelling went on crazy last night because the guys on the east side found out that they have lost the area here. West Beirut is gone. It doesn't belong to the government anymore.
That divides the city along sectarian lines, with Muslim militias in the west against the mainly Christian east side, including what is left of the army, still headed by President Amin Gemayel, also a Christian. The militiamen are demanding Gemayel resign. A senior army source confirmed that the army was on the point of disintegration, with soldiers either going over to the militias or refusing to fight.
Why did you leave the army?
I'm from the Lebanese soldier. I left it because they want to kill our family.
The toll of dead and wounded is in the hundreds. In one small area of West Beirut, more than 300 cars have been burned out. Homes have been smashed, streets strewn with the rubble of the destructive technology of modern warfare. Embassies and even the Red Cross were hit. This store was still burning hours after the shelling stopped. The heavy fighting tapered off shortly after dawn, allowing residents a chance to emerge from their basement shelters and try to salvage what they could from the ruins. Their situation borders on the desperate, a reflection in miniature of the country.
A major task facing whatever government tries to pick up the pieces will be soothing the bitterness left by this round of civil strife. What will make that even harder is that there is probably more fighting still to come. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Beirut.
There was no immediate indication whether the other three multinational force members, France, Italy, and Britain, intend to follow the United States out of Beirut. The Caribbean island nation of Grenada was invaded again today by U.S. forces, but this time it was a show of peace. The occasion, Grenada's celebration of its 10th anniversary of independence from Britain. Watching it all, Secretary of State Schultz. He became the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Grenada since the 19,000 American troops landed in force last October. One note of irony, Schultz arrived in a U.S. Air Force jet at an airport built by the Cubans.
New typewriter, Miss Tompkins.
New typewriter, but I've got an IBM typewriter.
You, Miss Tompkins, 8th floor?
But I love my IBM. I depend on it.
Ah, but this one's got pages of memory and it can be upgraded.
But nothing else has the IBM Touch. Give somebody else that typewriter.
But this is an IBM, a new electronic IBM typewriter.
It takes an IBM typewriter to replace an IBM typewriter, the most preferred typewriter there is.
Why didn't you say so in the first place?
Like to try Total?
Son, grape nuts has gotten me this far. I'm not going to give it up now.
Hope you're hungry.
Starving.
Because you'll have to eat 4 bowls of grape nuts to get the vitamin nutrition in 1 bowl of Total.
4 bowls? Horse hockey.
No, really, there's 100% of a day's worth of 9 vitamins and iron in whole wheat Total, 25 in grape nuts. So to get Total's vitamin nutrition, you'll have to eat 4 bowls.
Son, I've never been that hungry.
Total, 1 bowl, 100%.
2 of the Challenger shuttle astronauts put aside the mission's multi-million-dollar run of bad luck and their own free-floating anxiety today. Morton Dean has more on the first-ever rocket backpack spacewalk. No strings attached.
Boy, I'm getting a little bit of a positive roll.
It was an historic expression of self-confidence. Astronaut Bruce McCandless helped design the rocket pack that lifted him out of the cargo bay and into the record books.
A nice flying machine here.
Yes, sir, Bruce. Looks like you did a good job with all that engineering work over those years.
McCandless carried his own oxygen, his own water supply, his own electrical power. And because of the dynamics of space travel, he moved swiftly, orbiting the Earth at the same speed as the shuttle he had just left behind, over 17,000 miles an hour. He could change speed slightly.
It could go faster, but why rush it?
And he could change direction by using his hand controls. Bursts of nitrogen responded through the backpack's 24 tiny thrusters.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Gratifying that it's...
Unencumbered by any lifeline to the shuttle, McCandless roamed the heavens, up to 320 feet from the Challenger.
Hey, this is neat.
He was a human satellite, 172 miles above the Earth, a shining star, a star in the sky, and the star of today's activities. The backpack worked perfectly, as it did later in the day when astronaut Bob Stewart went for a ride.
Okay, looks good, Bob.
It was not a stunt, but a rehearsal for the next shuttle flight. McCandless and Stewart also took turns being hoisted around the cargo bay by the shuttle's robot arm. They practiced what other astronauts are scheduled to do in April, when they capture an ailing satellite, help haul it to the cargo bay, fix it, and return it to space. Today was a special day in space. On a flight that had been plagued by failure and frustration, it was a day of adventure and achievement. Morton Dean, CBS News, Johnson Space Center, Houston.
Roger, Vance. I've got several notes.
Talk about bad timing. This was also the day in Arizona when 2 British balloonists thought they would try for a hot air balloon altitude record. For the record, they didn't succeed. And it wasn't just the space shuttle crew that popped their balloon today. It's that their balloon really popped right off the gondola and up, and away without them.
About 5 seconds after.
Canon is proud to be the official 35mm camera of the 1984 Olympics. Like gold medalist Jennifer Chandler, it takes the ultimate in precision to perform at this level. Here, the Canon AE-1 program performs, capturing Chandler's high diving artistry through Canon's high technology.
And it's so simple, you flip for it.
Canon's AE-1 program, so advanced, it's simple.
How much faster can one antacid be than another? 3 times? 4 times? 10 times. Meet new stronger formula Ryapan Plus. Sodium-free, made to neutralize more acid. In laboratory tests, it starts to neutralize acid in seconds, 10 times faster than the 2 leading liquids. 10 times faster. It's long-lasting. And Ryapan Plus is sodium-free. No wonder it's doctor recommended. Neutralizes more acid. In lab tests, works faster. Long-lasting Ryapan Plus.
When the Mount St. Helens volcano erupted in Washington state in May 1980, it left 57 people dead or missing and devastated 154 square miles. Now the mountain is rumbling again. Nothing so serious as that eruption 4 years ago is expected, but David Dow reports scientists are monitoring serious new activity. Activity one said is just getting started.
In the sunlight of a winter day, Mount St. Helens looks serenely beautiful. But within its steaming lava dome, that 800-foot-high mountain within a mountain, scientists see all the signs of an imminent explosion. For one thing, the dome is expanding, and beneath it, small earthquakes ripple with abnormal frequency, sometimes triggering rock slides. Last night, a small plume of ash erupted.
Within the last few days, there's been a larger volume of material moving up into the dome, but that material has not yet reached the surface of the dome, and that's what we're waiting to see.
The pattern is similar to the last explosive eruption here 2 years ago. That one caused little damage and no injuries. The intensity of the next one is expected to be no greater. But precisely when that will occur remains like so many things since Mount St. Helens roared to life nearly 4 years ago. A secret of the mountain itself. David Dow, CBS News, Mount St. Helens.
Just how deadly is the kind of cold wave sometimes called a killer? Well, government weather experts today estimated that 2 weeks of bitter cold in December may have played a part in a spurt of more than 6,000 deaths across the nation. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration said deaths from all causes in the December period jumped 6,000 above the total for the same 2-week period in 1982 when the weather was mild. A spokesman said that the cold, in addition to causing death by freezing, quote, would contribute to deaths from such things as influenza, pneumonia, fires, and car accidents. General Motors today reported it earned $3.7 billion last year. That's a record for a U.S. automaker. GM said $322 million of those earnings will go into the Employee Profit Sharing Fund. Some 530,000 workers share in that fund. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office today said if current taxing and spending policies are continued unchanged, the federal budget deficit could exceed $300 billion by fiscal 1989. The report said that could lead to huge spending cuts or tax increases and lower standards of living. Also, Federal Reserve Chairman Paul Volcker told a House committee the current budget and foreign trade deficits present a clear and present danger to the economy. Volcker said, "We still have time to act, but in my judgment, not much time." Volcker added, "Markets have a mind of their own. They have never waited on the convenience of kings or congressmen or elections."
The apple growers of Washington State present the perfect snack. A snack high in fiber, but low in calories and low in salt. Looks good, tastes good, even sounds good. Wouldn't a Washington apple snack taste good right now?
Airborne has moved ahead of the pack and is challenging Federal to a race. Now, Federal starts this race with a big lead, but with a staggering load of packages to carry every day. At Airborne, we're just the right size to give you great service and move fast. So fast that Airborne makes most of their deliveries before 10:30 a.m. No wonder more people are switching to Airborne than ever before. And no wonder we say, watch out, Federal, here comes Airborne.
The House of Representatives today squared off against President Reagan on continued U.S. aid to El Salvador. By voice vote, the House approved a bill that would link the aid to Salvadoran human rights progress, including elimination of right-wing death squads. The bill is identical to one vetoed by the president last November. There was a daring daylight political assassination in Paris today. 2 men gunned down the former military governor of Tehran and his brother, a former Iranian army officer under the reign of the Shah. General Ghulam Ali Ibasi, called by his enemies the Butcher of Tehran, was a hardliner and the last military governor of the Iranian capital. He had been actively involved in forming armed opposition to the Khomeini regime. The breakdown of order in Beirut prompted Democratic candidates for the presidency to speak out today, campaigning across the country, criticizing U.S. policy in Lebanon. The candidates appeared to speak with one voice.
Time has come to remove our American Marines from Lebanon, and immediately. There is no effective or viable government.
And I think we should not jeopardize the life of one more young American in what is clearly a futile military enterprise.
We are getting more and more deeply involved in a civil war, as we did in Vietnam. We originally went there as peacekeepers.
But more than anything else, we've served as a lightning rod to actually exacerbate the violence in the struggle that's been going on there, in my opinion.
Jamal's government has fallen. Jamal is falling. Bring our boys back home. Bring the boys back home.
White House correspondent Bill Plant is traveling with the Reagan campaign in Las Vegas. Bill, the president has said repeatedly about Lebanon that he would not cut and run. With his action today, has he now done that?
Dan, despite the threat of naval bombardment, that's exactly what Mr. Reagan has done. Essentially, the president is admitting that the U.S. backed the wrong horse in Lebanon. It's worth noting that this will not be the first time, that the president has changed his mind when he seemed to be inflexible.
Well, Bill, what are the political ramifications of this as you see them?
Dan, this removes the single most volatile political issue in this election year, and that is more casualties in Lebanon. And barring an upsurge in Central America, a flare-up there, it probably means that the election will be hinged on economic issues, and that's where the administration feels they have an edge.
Bill Plant in Las Vegas. At a time like this, at a time when order in Beirut is collapsing, there are more than simply political ramifications to be considered. For his commentary tonight, Bill Moyers has been thinking about that. Bill?
Dan, several images have been racing through my mind today. One is of Secretary of Defense Weinberger testifying yesterday before Congress in behalf of his $305 billion budget, interrupted by aides to take an urgent message about Lebanon, where realities on the ground were at that moment confounding American policy. My mind then flashed back to many scenes like it in the 60s when the Johnson administration asked for more money and manpower for Vietnam, only to discover there are some things American power can't fix. Now, this is not a confession of the Vietnam syndrome, which holds that because America was defeated there, American power should never be used anywhere. But it is a kind of warning signal about the presumption of the difference that we can make in other people's wars. Unless the conditions are favorable for American power, we often just make matters worse. Take the realities of Lebanon. The Muslims are the majority of the population and want a larger say in running the government. President Jamal has been slow to compromise with them because he represents a minority Christian faction that does not want to give up its political advantages. The U.S. backed Jamal in part because he recognizes the security needs of Israel, which would like a Christian buffer between itself and its old Muslim enemies. That's one reason Israel smashed through Lebanon into Beirut. But Israel has wearied of Lebanon and longs to get out. This leaves Syria as the most aggressive player over whom the U.S. has no leverage. The Syrians saw their chance to regain influence over what was once a part of their country, and to do so at the expense of Israel and the West. So they've been helping their Muslim brothers in Beirut with arms and money, some from the Soviets. Now they're winning. Jamal is by all odds a doomed man, just as Tu was in Vietnam. That's the other image in my mind tonight, Saigon at the end. Dan?
Thank you, Bill. I'll have more news in a moment.
Great game. Let's dig in.
Where's the A1 for hamburgers?
Yeah, A1.
Miss, A1 steak sauce, please. Imagine a great place like this and no A1.
You need it to make steak burgers.
Sure do.
What is hamburger? Chopped ham? It's chopped steak. And A1 has herbs and spices created for steak. It makes hamburgers taste like steak burgers.
I make steak burgers at home because they're juicy and tasty.
Why settle for less when we eat out?
Team, go for it.
Miss, A1, please.
A1 makes hamburgers taste like steak burgers.
Ask for A1 at your favorite restaurant.
Why are sinus headaches a special problem for Kathy Cooley?
I have a lot of pain in my temples. I have a lot of pressure underneath my eyes. Sinus medicine makes me listless, makes me tired.
She needs the Sineade Advantage. Sineade relieves sinus pain and pressure without making you drowsy.
I feel good. My sinus headache doesn't hurt anymore. I don't have any more pain. I don't have any more pressure. I'm not tired. I'm not listless. And I really feel terrific.
Relief, yes. Drowsiness, no. That's the Sineade Advantage.
In the Flexible Express. I gotta get a letter to L.A. today.
L.A.? Same day? No way.
If you need same-day delivery, Pure Later Courier can help. We just got together with MCI Mail. So now you can send letters through their system from most computers. And we'll deliver a hard copy in just 4 hours.
L.A. Same day. Hey.
4-hour delivery from Pure Later Courier. You want it, you got it.
The 14th Winter Olympic Games got underway in Sarajevo, Yugoslavia today, and it was not an auspicious start for the U.S. hockey team, the defending Olympic champions. The Americans were beaten soundly by our neighbors, the Canadians, 4-2. This means the United States team now has to win its next 4 games before it could even think about moving on to the medal competition. With its next game scheduled for Thursday against the powerful Czech team, U.S. Captain Phil Vorchata said, "We are really between a rock and the hard place." Tonight, the second of 3 special reports on Campaign 84 and television. How, together, they affect what you see and know about the candidates running for president. Tonight, how the medium is the campaign message. A message often limited to 30 seconds tops and photo opportunities galore. Tonight, Bruce Morton looks between the flickering images and between the lines of electronic politics.
Candidate Ronald Reagan at a recent rally. Cheers, music, excitement, an attractive event for the camera. But what does playing to the camera mean to a candidate?
What television does is to discipline candidates to try to say something that will grab the listener or the viewer in that 30-second spot. That may not necessarily be the most profound way to discuss issues.
That's what McGovern did when the Democratic candidates debated farm policy in Iowa recently.
If Reagan wins, I'd sell the farm and buy a bomb shelter.
It was too good a line for ABC News to pass up.
Sander Van Ocker was there.
Unlike the debate last Sunday, there was one topic today, agriculture, and one target. Not one another, but instead Ronald Reagan.
If Reagan wins, I'd sell the farm and buy a bomb shelter.
It tends to highlight and simplify and underline, and it may present too simplistic an impression of the candidate.
I wish that the former vice president...
And critics say television loves confrontation. When the Democrats debated in New Hampshire, TV concentrated on a shouting match between John Glenn and Walter Mondale.
Why it is? It's because your administration...
Here is the CBS Sunday Night News.
Eric Engberg reports from Hanover, New Hampshire.
Frontrunner Mondale had just outlined his plan for cutting federal deficits while expanding economic and social programs dear to labor and other groups.
I wish that the former vice president would, in fact, get some figures down so they can be compared with what the rest of us are proposing. I'll tell you why it is. It's because...
Newspapers led with that too, of course, but had time to deal with the rest of the debate as well. TV is limited.
What we didn't get much of was an indication about what it was that they were arguing about.
Television reporters complain a lot about lack of airtime. What's your story about? The old gag runs. It's about a minute and a half.
Does it provide the open forum for the candidate to go on at great length? No, but that's the nature of a half-hour evening news with roughly 22 minutes of editorial time.
Television news is sometimes superficial, of course. Television reporters, especially at smaller stations, are sometimes underinformed.
The caricature is Terry Splendid,
who's soft as a marshmallow, who looks like $1,000,000, and who could clean out both ears with one long continuous Q-tip.
Exaggerated, of course. But while the networks have experienced political reporters, many local TV stations do not. And it's not just what television covers, it's the way it covers it, compressing reality into the rhythms of TV news.
To assume that you can absorb complicated and complex information about politics at the same breakneck speed and highly abbreviated, impressionistic speed at which you can absorb information about aspirin is, I think, a mistake.
Still, David Keene, who manages Republican campaigns, thinks the real candidate does emerge on the screen.
You had Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter spending a lot of time attempting to present an image that they wanted to project. But Nixon always came across as Nixon, and Ford always came across as Ford, and Carter as Carter.
But if you want a lot of information about the candidates, you need to do more than watch TV.
If your sole source of information is 22 minutes of editorial product, that's simply not enough.
Politicians will continue to complain that television overemphasizes the horse race, who's ahead this week, at the expense of the issues. Reporters will continue to grumble about obviously staged for the camera events. But the two sides are stuck with each other. Television and politics may be an odd couple, but nobody foresees a divorce. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Des Moines.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Tuesday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Do I care about the foods he eats? Do I care if he gets too much sugar? Sure I do. Each night before I go to bed, my baby. In the morning, he gets Nutri-Grain cereal.
Nutri-Grain from Kellogg's. No sugar added, no preservatives. Nothing comes between you and its whole grain good taste.
This is dedicated to the one I love.
Nutri-Grain. Why not dedicate it to the one you love?
What does it take to excel? It takes speed, reliability, economy. It takes express mail next day service from the post office. We'll deliver your urgent packages overnight. And our 2-pound pack is just $9.35, about half what most others charge. So next time, use the service that delivers over 95,000 packages on time every day. Express mail service. We deliver excellence for less.
Los Angeles, California, first place.
Winner is Chablis #3.
Sacramento, California, Silver Award.
Year after year, wine tastings are held across the country.
Chicago, Illinois, Gold Medal.
And year after year, one wine continues to appear at the top of the list.
Warwick, Rhode Island, first place.
The white wine judged best in tasting after tasting.
Washington, D.C., first place.
The Chablis Blanc of Ernest and Julio Gallo. From Ernest and Julio Gallo, all the best.
I'm Diane Sawyer. Tomorrow, the latest on the crisis in Lebanon. And in our 8:30 half hour, Dudley Moore. Wake up to what's happening on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.